first year as head coach of the Gamecocks. Interesting fact, he and I share a birthday, August 3rd. He's 1971, thus his youthful appearance. And if you really want to fill out the August 3rd birthdays, Kevin Sumlin and I share the exact same birthday, and I forgot to mention that yesterday. So, Will Muschamp.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate those kind words. Having stepped in the shoes of two Hall of Fame coaches, I understand the shoes he's stepping into with Commissioner Slive and Commissioner Kramer, who preceded him, and I can assure you our league is in great hands with Commissioner Sankey and the people that he's got in place. Really excited about our future. It's great to be back. Last day, you guys don't look real good, to be honest with you. You look a little worn out. Pat Dooley, what's up? You kind of you remind me of that Josh Turner song. You look like I need a drink. But it's great to be here. I actually was scheduled to come on day 2, and my friend Kirby Smart called and said, "Would you mind coming on day 4? I need a little more vacation time with his wife." So to accompany him, I guess he might be working on his basketball skills since he never beat me at Valdosta State, regardless of the stories he tells. But certainly glad to be here. Year 2 at South Carolina. We're still a very young football team. We had 70% of our roster is still freshmen and sophomores. We only have 11 seniors. 19 first-time starters last year on last year's team and 7 true freshmen, which those two stats tie for the most in the country. But I was extremely proud of that football team. You're 2 and 4. You're going to an open week. And I told our staff we're going to go pedal to the metal. I mean, we're going to push these guys. And when you're not having success and things aren't going your way, and then all of a sudden you got a coach going after you, it's frustrating. But trust is a choice in life, and our guys chose to trust us as a staff and continued to believe. And certainly we were able to turn the thing around, and a credit to several of the guys that I've got here today, but certainly for our entire unit. But that's been about as proud a team that I've ever been a part of as far as how they continue to fight and believe and trust in us and what we were trying to do. 3 guys with me today: Jake Bentley, our quarterback. We had gone into last season, I was going to redshirt Jake, and then we practice on Sunday nights with the bottom half of our roster to develop that part of the roster. I saw a guy go from August to September into October, continue to improve his skill set, and we were struggling offensively, and that was not on the quarterback position. That was multiple areas. But when he came in, he brought us a spark and a charge. To see him go through the all-season program to spring ball now into the summer, really understands how to be a quarterback, and that's what excites me. He was voted along with Deebo Samuel as a co-most valuable player by his teammates. So that'll tell you something about a guy that played half the season, should be a high school senior, and his teammates are voting co-MVP. They split the vote right down the middle. Deebo Samuel's with me today, a very explosive player with the ball in his hands, a returner, runner, receiver. We need to be able to get him a bunch of touches in every game. He's also a guy that's got a great competitive edge. You ask him to be a gunner, he's going to go do it. But really excited about him. He, along with Jake, were co-MVPs on last year's team, and then Hayden Hurst was the first sophomore in school history to be voted a team captain. He's the only underclassman we had voted as a permanent captain, so that tells you the respect that he's got of his teammates, the work ethic he has, and I'm really excited to see him jump from year 1 to year 2 at the tight end position, because last year was the first year he had played at the position. I know there'll be some questions about not bringing a defensive player. Unfortunately, there was some class conflicts and some test conflicts and some things that we just couldn't work out. That we certainly have some guys that are deserving to be here, but honestly, the last time we brought our defensive guys to Birmingham, it didn't go real good. We gave up a bunch of points and a bunch of yards, so I didn't know if they'd want to come. So I didn't ask them. But I think offensively, you see a bunch of knowns and you see some competition. And competition is great because that breeds consistency in your performance. And when you're able to walk on the practice field and not have to motivate a guy to practice the right way all the time because he knows that he doesn't practice the right way, he's not going to play. And we have that at multiple positions. You look at running back with Rico Dowdle and A.J. Turner, 2 freshmen that played very well for us last year. Tyson Williams, a transfer that's going to come in and compete for playing time as well. We've got depth, quality depth at the position. At receiver, Brian Edwards had a fantastic freshman year. Randricus Davis and Chavis Dawkins did start games as freshmen as well. We think we've recruited very well at the position. Ortre Smith was a guy that was on campus mid-year, but we have very good competition at the position, along with Debo Samuel. Tight end, quality depth, a bunch of different guys with a different skill set as far as the things that they're going to provide for our football team. So we're excited about that position. And then we've got 98 starts back on the offensive line. Which is, I think we've made a lot of improvements there. We've really challenged those guys as far as their strength is concerned, but we've got competition at both tackle spots and inside. Defensively, a little different story as far as the known is concerned. We have a lot of unknowns. We've got some questions that need to be answered. Matter of fact, I was finishing scripting our first 11 practices last night. And our 11th practice is going to be a scrimmage, and that's going to be D-Day for a lot of these young guys. We need to make a decision on the who and the what. Who is going to be playing and what can they handle? And we need to do it early because we open up with NC State, then we go to Missouri, and then we welcome Kentucky at home, which we've lost to for 3 straight years. It starts up front in our league, obviously. Taylor Stallworth, Uric Jones, and Dante Sawyer are 3 seniors. And for us to play well defensively, we need these guys to play well. So we're putting the pressure on these guys. They've got to play well for us to take the next step. We did have some guys that play as true freshmen, Kier Thomas, Dennis Warnham, and Kobe Smith that I thought did some really nice things. They need to take the next step. Year 1 to year 2 has got to be your largest movement as far as your improvement as a player, and that's got to happen for those guys. It's really excited to get Sky Moore back. He brings an element of toughness, leadership, speed, athleticism. Very instinctive at the position, led South Carolina in tackles for the 3 years before I got there, but he's a playmaker and a guy that we're extremely excited about. Been through an awful lot this year as far as the adversity he's been through, coaching change, thought about coming out a couple times. I think he made 2 very mature decisions to come back, but I'm really excited to see him play this fall. Bryson Allen Williams is a guy we've got to continue to expose his skill set. Let him get in the pass rush more. I think that'll help us, especially with some of the space teams that we play. And T.J. Brunson needs to take the next step. Again, played a lot as a true freshman for us last year and continue to improve as a player. In the secondary, Chris Lamont's the guy that can do a lot of things for us. You can play corner, nickel, or safety, and I think his skill set's pretty vast, and I really like his leadership over the summer and how he's continued to improve. And D.J. Smith played his best ball in the spring. I'm really excited to see him play this year. Jamarcus King and Rashad Fenton are 2 guys that we feel like can play well for us at the corner position, and Stephen Montack can move around. Losing Elliott Fry is going to, it hurts because he's a very dependable guy. My first game at Vanderbilt, he kicked a 55-yarder, and there was no question it was going to be good. But Alex Wozniak, to me, has got all the ability in the world, just hasn't done it yet. So we feel comfortable that he has the ability to be very good. It's an exciting time to be a Gamecock. Right now, I really see a push in our athletic department and support from our administration of doing the things you've got to do to be successful. 650 Lincoln, where our players live, we've been in that 2 years now. Is as nice a living facility as there is in the country. The Dodie Anderson Academic Enrichment Center, Maria Hickman and her staff do an absolutely phenomenal job. 20 straight semesters of above the 3.0 cumulative GPA for our student athletes. That's unheard of. Last year, our football team graduation rate was rated 3rd in the country. So our guys are graduating. They're getting great educations at South Carolina. Our new operations facility will be done in December of 2018. It's underway right now. It'll be as nice a developmental facility as there is in the country, and you couple that with the game day atmosphere we have at Williams-Brice, which is as good as anywhere in the country. So exciting time for us moving forward. I thought we had a very solid foundation in year 1, and moving forward, ready to get this thing kicked off, and I'll open it up for any questions.
All right, thank you, Coach. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get a microphone to you. Again, if you'll give your name and affiliation. We'll start right over here in the front, Coach, in the 2nd row.
Coach, Gary Smith from the Florida Times-Union. I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about Hayden Hurst, especially what it's been like to coach him, and then what kind of example can his story be to kids who possibly their first option in life doesn't exactly pan out, and they, take a reassess and find something else that they can do?
Absolutely, Gary. I think, first thing I would say, it's a delight to coach the guy. The guy lives in the weight room. If he's not there, he's in the film room. He's asking questions. He is as coachable a guy as there is on our football team and that I've been associated with. But he brings an element of maturity to the group, and because baseball didn't work for him, he chose another avenue. And so to have that maturity on our football team, to see his work ethic and the example he sets for the younger players is invaluable for me as a coach, because that, when it comes from your peers, it's a lot different than when it comes from a coach. And that's why, as a sophomore, second year on the team, first year starting at tight end, he's elected a permanent team captain. Because it's all, to me, is about the respect you have from your peers. And he's as respected a young man on our football team.
We'll go over here to Pat. Pat, second row.
Yeah, what's left of Pat Dooley?
Ain't much.
Will, can you just talk about second year? I mean, you went through this before, the comfort level you have now, and is there like less resistance in what you're dealing with now than maybe what you had to deal with at Florida?
Well, I think that the most important thing is just understanding your roster, understanding the players you have on your team, the young men that you've recruited in the previous 2 years to your football team. You're able to mold your team a little bit more about where you want to go and the direction you want to head with it, that probably, to me, gives you a little bit more of a comfort level as far as moving forward. I think that as much as anything, I think that, but I also need to credit our players, because I think that they have bought into the type culture we want to have within our organization, and we have not had much resistance from that. Now, we've had some attrition, but the guys understood, maybe this isn't for me, I'm going to go somewhere else, which is fine. But I want guys that want to be at the University of South Carolina. I think we're on the verge of some really good things.
Coach, we'll go over to our left, second row. Bob.
Hey, Will, Bob Holt, Arkansas Democrat Gazette. David Williams is at Arkansas now. What would you say Arkansas is getting in terms of a player and a person? And I guess what do you think about him going to Arkansas?
Well, I think that David is, first of all, is an outstanding person, an outstanding young man, and a really good football player. I didn't want to lose David. I tried to talk David into staying at South Carolina. He came to me in January. He said, Coach, I'm going to graduate. He did everything right. He had no off-the-field issues. He had no violation of team rules. He did everything we've asked him to do. And he said, I wanted a fresh start somewhere else to play my senior year as a graduate transfer. I said, I totally understood. I think David originally was going to go to Connecticut. And then I was down in Destin, and Brett and Jeff Long came up and said, hey, would you be willing to release him within the league even though we play all next year? And absolutely. I mean, give the guy an opportunity if that's what he wants to do. But David's a good football player. I think that they'll find that they've got him a good one.
Okay, we'll go here in the center section on the near aisle.
John Christ, Saturday Down South. Coach, you talked about Sky Moore, and what are reasonable expectations for that young man with the injuries coming back from? It's a little scarier than most football injuries.
Well, I think the first day of contact we had in spring ball, I didn't say much to him, and we put him in a one-on-one drill, and he went right after and threw his eyes in there, and it was awesome. And came out of it, and I said, you all right? He said, I'm ready to go. So it's, we would obviously not medically cleared him if he was not okay, but, he's a tough young man. He's going to be fine. My expectation for him is to play extremely well. That's exactly my expectation.
Okay, we'll stay in this center section, about 3/4 of the way back.
Kyle Heck, Spurs and Feathers. With a guy like Debo Samuel, battled some injury problems early last year and came on strong at the end, especially in the Birmingham Bowl. What can he do with a full season of being healthy?
Well, that's one thing we've got to do is keep him healthy. He has had some soft tissue issues in high school at Chapman and then at South Carolina. So that's something that we monitor through our catapult system and things that we make sure his mileage is not as high so he doesn't risk those injuries. Is also we really harped on him the hydration levels that he's got to hit every day to be able to understand that that's part of the pull process and as far as soft tissues are concerned. But again, he's an electric guy with the ball in his hands. We've got to find multiple ways to get him the ball, and that's our plan going into the season. But I would certainly endorse having him for the entire year.
Okay, we're going to stay in the center section.
Hey, Coach. Ethan Tribich, Rock Game Nation. Offensive line coach Sean Elliott left to become a head coach at Georgia State. Could you just talk about him and what you expect from him as the head coach down there in Atlanta? Well,
I think Sean will do an outstanding job. I think one of the strengths he has as a coach is relating with the players and getting the players to play hard. And that's something that, you know, if you had mission one as a coach, let's do that. It's belief in their coach and play hard. And Sean will do a fantastic job, and we appreciate his time at South Carolina.
Okay, we'll go over here to the left, front row. Ron?
Yeah, Ron Higgins, NOLA.com, Times-Picayune. Well, have you had anybody like Jake Bentley improve that much during the start of the season as a quarterback? In any place you've been, have you had anybody like that?
I don't know that I have. I think that, you know, obviously did not go through spring, was around our players for the player run practice in the summer, and then went into fall camp and had a good fall camp. And you could see him continuing to improve, but just the amount of reps and the amount of turns, it just wasn't there. And I just didn't, at the time, going into the season, feel like he was as prepared as the other two quarterbacks. But as you practiced on Sunday nights and we let the guys that had played a lot in the games go in the locker room, and we're taking the other guys and we're coaching and developing the bottom half of our roster, and I'm watching a guy continue to improve, and I'm talking to Kurt Roper and saying, you know, he's saying, Coach, he's starting to get it. He's starting to understand what we need to do. And then the frustration of not playing well offensively, again, not all in the quarterback position. There's multiple issues. But, you know, part of being a good quarterback is understanding how to be a quarterback, and Jake understands that.
Okay, we'll go on the center section on the aisle. Edgar?
Yeah, Edgar Thompson, Atlanta Sentinel. Hey, Will.
How you doing?
Fine. How does having a quarterback, identifying a quarterback, put the long-range plan, rebuilding plan ahead of schedule and provide a foundation?
Well, I don't think there's any question that, you know, if you have an established guy at that position, it helps your skill recruiting offensively, it helps your offensive line recruiting, and then it helps you on defense, because guys want to understand that, you know, having a guy at that position that can excel, you're going to win games. And that's part of the process in recruiting, is saying we're going to win some football games, which we are at South Carolina, no doubt.
Okay, we'll go over to the left. Mike?
Mike Bianchi.
You don't have to identify yourself. They could use your voice to torture prisoners of war. I was waiting for a year to say that. Go ahead.
You talk a lot about facilities. It seems everybody's upgrading their facilities in the SEC. When you were at Florida, were you aware that your facilities had lagged behind, and how much of a detriment was that to you building that program?
Well, I don't think there's any question. You know, there was a plan to move forward. I mean, the indoor that they finished was done. Jeremy and I we'd done that about a year and a half before to agree to get the indoor done. And I think we had a plan moving forward to continue to enhance our situation there. But that's part of it. At the end of the day, you know, we don't believe in bells and whistles, but recruits do. And that's a fact. And they want to see new, they want to see shiny, they want to see progress. And there's no doubt that it helps you in your program.
Okay, we'll stay over in that left section, John.
Jimmy Heim, Sports Radio Knoxville. Will, how do you think being at Florida helped you as a head coach at South Carolina?
Well, I don't know that, I mean, whether it's Florida or anywhere else, you know, time as a head coach helps from a standpoint. I don't look at it as any different than playing as a freshman or a rookie. As you continue to get more snaps, the game slows down for you. And I'm talking in terms of the game. It's not the X and O part. It's all the other stuff. It's public relations. It's recruiting. It's managing your football team. It's managing your staff. It's managing your campus. I mean, there's a lot of things, hats that you wear in the role, and certainly the more at-bats you get, the better you're going to become at it.
Coach, we'll go over to our right alongside the wall.
Chandler Rome, Anderson Star. Will, expounding on Jake, what is the biggest thing maybe in your experience with sophomore quarterbacks that you see them improve on from their freshman year to their sophomore year?
Understanding how to be a quarterback as far as the film room is concerned, total understanding of the offense, protections, blocking schemes up front, identifying defenses. I mean, all of those things, you're taking the next step. I mean, as a guy coming in August, I mean, it's like drinking water out of a fire hose. We're moving fast. The installation, we're going to install this day. You know what we're going to do tomorrow? We're going to install again. The next day, we're going to install again. The defense continues to install. So you're just figuring out what to do versus 4 down, and all of a sudden Coach Muschamp puts in 3 down on day 5. that changes the whole ball game as far as protections and run game are concerned. So to be able to sit down and digest offensively what we do in identifying defenses, to me, is the biggest step mentally.
Other questions for Coach? If you'll raise your hand, we'll get a microphone to you. We've got one up here in the front, second row.
Hey, Will, Tom Murphy, Arkansas Democrat Gazette. You got the crossover with Arkansas this year. Might not have seen him in a couple of years. Kind of what's your prep been like for them? What do you think of the program?
Well, you know, obviously he's done a great job at Wisconsin and now at Arkansas. It's a different ball of wax as far as playing those guys, as far as some of the teams that we see in the East. You're going to get some traditional two-back run game. Dan does a fantastic job of that. They've gone to strictly 3 down on defense. It's something we need to prepare for, which we'll see on the Eastern Division side. But I think more than anything, the physicality that organization is going to bring, you need to understand the two-back run fits and those things, which are a little bit different from what we face on the Eastern side.
Okay, we'll go back down front to Pat.
Yeah, Will, can you just talk, when you're playing a quarterback or you decide to go with a quarterback who's a senior in high school, basically, is that a sleepless night situation? I mean, is that a tough decision for you in your first year as a coach?
Well, after we had lost to Georgia, I went home. There was a Sunday in the game because of the hurricane, and I went home that night and just kind of was going through in my mind, just thinking through what do we need to do to improve. We're going into an open week. We're going to have time for reps. We're not going to be in a game plan mode of having to get somebody ready. I mean, that sort of thing. So I'm just kind of going through, and I'll be honest with you, I called Coach Tanner. You know, he's a coach. He's been a coach. And I said, am I wrong to think that we need to play a high school senior? And he said, absolutely not. I'm not telling you what to do. You do whatever you want to do. He said, but, you know, if your gut tells you do it, do it. And so I went in the office Monday morning. I told Kurt we're going to open it up, and Kurt agreed with that. And we moved forward from there.
We'll go over to the left section. Edward.
Edward Ashoff, ESPN. Will, you only had 21 sacks last year. You lose Darius. What strides, if any, did you see during the spring when it came to finding a pass rusher?
Well, I think the biggest thing is being able to affect the quarterback with 4 guys rushing. And with all the spread teams you play, they're making you defend the whole field. And, you know, 5-man pressures are great, but that generally means man coverage or some sort of 2-trap coverage. And you got a lot of your back is to the ball, and you got a lot of these quarterbacks that have legs. It creates issues for you. So I thought Dennis Walham has made some strides. I think he's a guy that really came on. He's gotten stronger. He's up to about the 250 range. I'm excited about him. I think he can give us some pass rush. We need to utilize Bryson Allen Williams more in the pass rush. He's got natural pass rush ability. We got in some situation numbers-wise last year where it just didn't work to utilize him more, and we need to do that more. And Taylor Stallworth, I think, can be a very effective rusher inside for us. Dante Sawyer is a guy that can rush both inside and outside. And we need Urick to be able to push the pocket. I mean, there's a lot of components that I think we have, and we just need to do a better job with it.
Coach, we'll go right down here in the front on the right.
Hale McGranahan, SECCountry.com. Will, how has the implementation of RPOs changed how you recruit at linebacker and safety and defensive back as well?
I don't know that it's changed the type of athletes you recruit. It certainly schematically has created some issues for you as far as your pattern match coverages with the run game, you canceling gaps, being able to carry people down the field. It creates a lot of run pass conflicts for a linebacker and a safety. It's also really difficult when the offensive guard releases 15 yards downfield too on a slant. That kind of poses an issue, and that's got nothing to do with athleticism. So I think more than anything, it has more to do with scheme than it does the type young man you're going to recruit.
Any final questions for Coach? Raise your hand. All right, thank you for your time, Coach.
Thank you very much.
Laura's going to start off with